Your kindness and your harshest inner voice are the same thing, not related, not two sides of one coin, the same mechanism. And by the end of this video, you'll see exactly how it works, because the missing piece here has a name, self-compassion. And the way it disappears in the kindest people is one of the most misread patterns in psychology. You know this from the inside. You're the one who picks words carefully so nobody at the table feels stupid. The one who remembers the interview, the biopsy, the name of a coworker's dog. When a friend messes up, you talk them down like it's nothing. One bad moment doesn't define you. And when you mess up, something in you pulls out a file and starts reading charges. 2 sets of rules. One for everyone else. One for you. And you've probably never called it what it is, because from the outside it just looks like being nice. It's not. Not exactly. There's a question. One quiet question that cracks this entire pattern open. I'll hand it to you near the end of this video, and I want you to actually answer it. But first, you need to see where the split lives, because it's not in your personality. It's in the math your brain runs about who deserves grace. Dr. Kristin Neff at the University of Texas spent over 20 years studying self-compassion, and one of her findings should stop you cold. People don't just treat themselves worse than they treat their friends. They treat themselves worse than they treat complete strangers. Strangers. Someone you'll never see again gets more grace, more patience, more benefit of the doubt than you give the person living in your own skin. But there's something else going on. Your brain has an accomplice. Neuroscientists call it negativity bias, the wiring that makes negative information stick harder than positive. In practice, it means an insult gets filed in permanent ink and a compliment gets filed in pencil. Now aim that wiring at yourself, add a couple of decades, and you get a very specific kind of archive. Every mistake, indexed. Every win, misplaced. Here's the part nobody talks about, though. Somewhere along the way, you learned that other people deserve kindness automatically, and that you, specifically, have to earn it first. Nobody handed you that rule on paper, but you follow it like law. Now, maybe you think your inner judge is simply being accurate, that you really are the exception. Researchers found something that dismantles that idea in one move. They slipped people recordings of their own voice, hidden inside a lineup of strangers' voices. And as long as people didn't know which voice was theirs, they rated their own voice among the most attractive in the pile. The contempt only switched on when they found out it was them. Sit with that. The judgment was never about the voice. It's about the label me, and everything your history has stapled to it. Hold that thought, because it's about to get very specific. Maya is 31, and Thanksgiving lives at her apartment now. 14 people, enough food for 2 ovens coming out of one, and she's tracked all of it. Her cousin's gluten thing, which uncle can't sit near whose glass is empty. She laughs at the jokes and carries the table through the awkward pause after somebody mentions politics. When her aunt says the pie is incredible, Maya waves it off. It's from a box. It's nothing. She eats standing up, last, by the counter. And at 11, elbow deep in dishwater after everyone's gone, her brain replays the 90 seconds she spent talking about her own promotion and calls her self-centered. 90 seconds at her own table. That's not a hosting style. That's a strategy. And it was built a long time ago. Let me show you where it comes from. Physician Gabor Maté describes a tension every child eventually faces. The pull between authenticity, being fully yourself, and attachment, staying safely connected to the people you depend on. When a home makes those feel like a choice, kids don't debate it. They trade. Be easy. Be helpful. Keep everyone comfortable, and you get to stay. It's a lesson learned before the alphabet. Run that trade long enough, and it hardens into what psychologists call a negative self-schema, a standing file that says your worth is conditional. And once that file exists, every act of service becomes a payment on a debt that never shrinks. But the real cost of this pattern doesn't show up at the dinner table. It shows up in the moment somebody tries to love you back. And if any of this is landing a little too precisely, do me one small favor. Subscribe. It's free, and it genuinely helps this reach the next person washing dishes at 11, telling themselves they didn't do enough. Because what comes next is the price nobody warns you about. So here's what the pattern costs. You became the person everyone calls, the 2 a.m. friend. The one who remembers, who checks in, who holds the group together. And you're genuinely glad to do it. But some nights, in the quiet after you've talked somebody off a ledge, a question floats up that you push right back down. Why doesn't my phone ring like that? It's not that they don't care. It's that you've spent years teaching everyone the version of you that doesn't need anything. People get comfortable with the one who's always fine. Nobody pushes past a smile that convincing. And researchers who study social connection keep finding the same sharp line. Being valued for what you do feels fundamentally different from being valued for who you are, because useful can be replaced. Some part of you has always known that. So you keep the calendar full, keep the favors coming, keep earning a place you were supposed to simply have. Here's the disguise that makes this so hard to catch. From the inside, it never feels like self-hatred. It feels like being realistic, humble. I'm just not that special. I'd rather focus on other people. And the world applauds you for it. So giving, so selfless, which locks the whole thing in tighter. Watch what happens when someone flips the direction, though. A compliment comes straight at you, and you go to work discounting it. The data doesn't match your file, so your brain hunts for the error. Someone asks what you need, and something close to panic flickers through you, because needing something opens a door. And the last time that door was open, it didn't go well. So here's the question I promised you. When do you feel most deserving of love? If your honest answer is some version of after I've done something for someone, after I've been useful, helpful, easy, and almost never just because I exist, then you've just seen the entire machine in one sentence. And that's exactly where this turns, because there's something inside this pattern that nobody ever gives you credit for. Your kindness started as armor. A child who learned to keep every room comfortable wasn't practicing a virtue. They were staying safe. But here's what deserves more credit than it ever gets. The armor became real. Somewhere between then and now, the strategy turned into genuine warmth. You didn't fake the caring. You built it out of survival, and then you meant it. Most people never transform anything that deep, which means you've been reading yourself backwards this whole time. The problem was never that there's too little love in you. There's more than most. It's just been running in one direction for so long that turning it around feels like breaking a rule. That turn is all self-compassion, actually is. Not bubble baths, not lowering your standards. A direction. So here's how you start. First, run the friend test. The next time the prosecutor in your head starts reading charges, stop and ask one thing. Would I say this sentence, in these exact words, to the person I love most? If the answer is no, it doesn't get said to you either. Same rules. One set. Second, receive one thing all the way through. The next compliment that comes at you. No discount. No, it's from a box. 2 words. Thank you. Full stop. It'll feel wrong, almost physically wrong. That's not failure. That's the old file being edited in real time. Maya's version is even simpler. This Thanksgiving, she sits down and eats while the food is still hot. That's it. That's the rep. And third, retire the debt. You've been making payments on your own worth for decades to a lender nobody's seen. You don't have to be useful to be kept. Your kindness was never fake. It was just never pointed at you. So answer the question. Honestly, in the comments. When do you feel most deserving of love? I read every reply. If this felt like someone finally opened your file and read it fairly, subscribe. It helps more than you know. And next up, that voice in your head we've been circling this whole video. Some people don't just hear it, they answer it out loud. The psychology of people who talk to themselves is a completely different mechanism than this one. and it might be one of the rarest strengths a mind can carry.